pulling the Subaru motor out. Probably know how to do this for the most part. Most people probably know, but we'll go over a time lapse on how to do it. Before I started, though, I wanted to go over one thing. Depending on why you're pulling the motor, you may need to add a step before you start. And the step that I'm going to, or already kind of got done, I'll show here, is going to be based off that gauge right there. Ethanol content. So 19.5, you want it to be pretty low. You want, obviously, the ethanol content to be as close to 92 octane as you can, or 93 octane, just, around the 10% range. So you want the ethanol content that low because you're trying to seat the rings if you're putting in a new engine. If you're just taking it out to do a head gasket or, something that doesn't require a new shore block or breaking something in, then yeah, keep your 85 in there, I guess. For me personally, again, trying to get it around that 10%, which is what normal gas has ethanol content wise. That way it burns a little bit hotter and those rings will kind of seat a little bit better. We want to make sure that we do that on the break-in of a new shore block. Then after you break it in, again, we can go over the braking process so you can look that up. Some people do, hundreds or thousands of miles. I typically do around 500. I don't think you need thousands and thousands of miles to break an engine in, but we'll be going over the process as I pull this motor out. We'll do a time lapse and we'll go over the process there. Okay, so first thing, we're removing the front mount intercooler pipe. Most people may have a top mount intercooler. I have a front mount, so I'm just removing these 10mm T-bolt clamps, and then we can kind of go from there. Once we get rid of the intercooler piping, we attack the front of the engine here, the alternator and the power steering pump. Just get those out of the way. This could affect some, this could not affect others, but I have an air oil separator, so I'm removing all the hose kind of runs here. Now we're ready to jack the car up, put a drip pan underneath, and then kind of take all the coolant out. Get as many fluids out as we can, make it easier to take this thing out. While the coolant is draining, we're removing the caps and all the hoses that go to the radiator because we're going to end up pulling the radiator here. Okay, skip the part where the radiator was actually just lifted out of the car, but with the radiator out now, we're going to attack the back side of the engine, the downpipe bolts, to get everything, the exhaust, detached. Next is the intake manifold. So we'll start removing the coolant reservoir up here, and then the 8 bolts that hold the intake manifold in place, all the connectors, and pull it on out. the intake manifold out of the way, we can go ahead and attach the engine hoist balancer here. I use the intake manifold bolts or the power steering mounting point. Now we're ready to pull out the old trusty Harbor Freight engine hoist, attach this puppy and pull her out. With the engine pulled, we're going to go ahead and take the clutch off and the flywheel. That way we can bolt this up and get it on the engine stand. With the engine now on the stand, we can start attacking the accessories, if you consider the turbo an accessory, and then after that take off the timing accessories and the valve covers. With all the timing covers off, I will set the motor at top dead center here. That way we can remove the timing pulleys and start getting all these cam gears off. This cam gear pulley tool comes in extremely handy. This is not the Company 23 tool. This is some eBay or Amazon knockoff. I did have to modify it to get it to fit properly, but it does do the job. And as you can see, I used the crank pulley bolts to kind of hold it in place. Makes it really easy to take these bolts out. Okay, on the home stretch now, removing these coil packs and then the valve cover. After that, the inside timing covers, and then we will see what is underneath waiting us at the head level. Okay, before we remove these cams, I'm going to check the valve clearances just to see where they're at. The top should be, what, 8 thou on the intake, should have 8 thou, and then on the exhaust, I normally go with 10 here. So you need some feeler gauges. I use ones that are actually like bent. They're a lot easier to stick in there, but I check. It's a little bit tight, goes through, a little bit tight. A little tight. Good. Expect a little bit of tight. They get tight over time. They're not going to get more loose. They're going to get more tight as they go through. But I just did these clearances a year ago, so they should be pretty well within spec. Now I'm doing again 10 here on the exhaust. Good. Maybe a little tight. Good. If you can't get one through at all, then yeah, you definitely need to change out the buckets to match the spec that you would need. But these all look to be well within spec. I mean, it's 0.8 and or 0.008 and 0.010 on the low, within like 0.01, 0.02. Or 0.001, 0.002. So these are well within the spec. So I'm going to remove these cams, and then we can remove the head. Keep the bolts with the actual caps. Obviously the caps are all labeled. You can't really screw this up, and obviously 2E is second cylinder exhaust, 4E fourth cylinder exhaust. So you can't really screw these up in terms of the caps, but you want to kind of keep the bolts with them in their respective housings as well. So take a look at the cams. So exhaust cam first. This one's going to be kind of a little bit tighter just because there's sealant underneath, so I'll come back to that one and keep those off to the side. This or without. I'll take the seal out with it. Take a look at the cam. Cam looks pretty good. Maybe some minor scuffing on that, but nothing that really catches my nail or anything. This cam here, no real gouging or anything. A little bit of no wear, but nothing crazy. And same with the cam surfaces. Looks good there. Now the fun part, removing the head bolts, or the head studs, the nuts from the head studs. Again, I use this kind of makeshift breaker bar. Obviously this is breaker bar, but you want as much leverage as you can just to make it easier. Pull the head off. Yep, everything is detached. Those pistons, so nice. Okay, that looks good. Take it, put it off to the side. Down to this side, checking the clearances. And intake should be about 8 thou. That one's pretty tight. Let's see what it is actually. That one's probably the tightest of the bunch. 7 thou. About 7 thou, maybe 6. It's within spec, but it's super tight. Try the bottom. Then 10 thou down here. Should look at the top and then I'm doing. Good. 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 All good there. Sure everything's disconnected. It should be. Disconnected everything. If not, we're about to find out. Okay. Oh, I must have just dropped that in. That's kind of concerning when you first see that. Obviously, this was not in for the entire time or anything. That would have melted for sure. But again, pistons look, a better view. Pistons look really good. Really good. Just gonna zoom in there. See, much cleaner when they came out before. Head gasket wise, it doesn't look like this is the bad side, or the side that is warped for me, or was warped. So this is out of the ordinary. See the other side? Nope. Not really. Anything to be concerned with. Maybe a little bit here, but nothing crazy. We get the flat edge here. This is the part where it was a little bit lower. If I went this way, it would be a little bit lower or warped there. Okay, so now we have the flatness check for the block that we're gonna do. This is the side that I said was within question. It was like right at that range. And there's the ways that you wanna measure for flatness are, you know, kind of like an X pattern, and then flatness across the middle, the top, and the bottom. You wanna take the studs out. I'm not going to, just because I have a feeling that this is going to be, or I'm probably going to replace this. So this is going to sit off to the side for a while, so I'm not really as concerned, but I'm using a feeler gauge right here. This is 0.0015. The spec is 0.002. So if you can see me trying to slide this underneath here, I can almost get this under. So that's a kind of like the diagonal check. I'll go like right about here. See this middle portion right there. It gets kind of close. If I actually put it up on top, I'm pulling the whole flat edge with it. So it is within spec. This is within spec. Not as bad as maybe I thought it was before. I just knew that, you know, I could get a feeler gauge right here. I can definitely get it in here. You can feel that. If I put it in here, kind of get it in there a little bit. But this is, with this measurement right here, if I can get this under or not, this is still technically within spec, within Subaru spec. The 0.002 inches is out of spec. So let me pull that out, and we'll try to use that. So see the difference here, 0.002. Try to get that underneath here. If this goes through, this would as long as it isn't larger than this, it's technically within spec. And it looks like all around. Put it right here. Yeah, this is all within spec. So technically, it's not. The issues that I was having again were bubbling in the reservoir. Looking at this was the bad side, if you will, the side that I said, like in the last video, had a warped block. This is the bad side, and it's still well within range. I could clean it up more and try again, but that's still within range. Okay, so I have the head gaskets here, and as you can see, nothing really stands out as, you know, a blown head gasket. I see all the black material still present. Granted, I mean, these head gaskets are fairly new to only have, like, you know, maybe 5,000 or 6,000 miles on them, not that many miles. So maybe I was a little bit paranoid with the bubbling. Could have just been air in the system, but I burped it a bunch. I think that there's something else going on still. So while we have these heads out, you can see the cams are spinning pretty freely, so there's no tension or lobes around the valves at all. What we're going to do is we're going to do a pressure check on this. And there's a couple ways you can do that, but a cheap, quick way, not really a pressure test, but testing for bent valves. You can just pour water or gas. Well, gas is probably better just because it won't, you know, rust or anything like that. We're not worried about that because we're going to clean it out pretty quick, but you're going to pour water in each one of these kind of areas. Fill it up as best you can, and then kind of leave it. See if any water leaks out of any of these, right? I have paper towels in every one of these, the intake ports and the exhaust ports. So basically, if water leaks out, we'll be able to see where it leaked out. I'm going to let it sit for a few hours, and then we'll kind of come back and check. So you want to kind of get these as flat as possible. Obviously, with the valve covers on, they're not perfect. So I'll just put some stuff like underneath this to kind of like balance it out a little bit better. I'd rather it be straight up. It doesn't have to be perfectly flat, but I'd rather it is. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, they aren't perfectly flat, but they're much flatter than they were before. So we're just gonna pour water in here with this broken coffee mug. Again, just try not to spill too much. Fill it up the best you can. So this is after letting it sit for about just over an hour. You can sit for longer, you can sit for shorter, but that's right around where I do it. I mean, you can let it sit overnight. It shouldn't leak any water at all. You can see here, this cylinder, or this right here, has very little water left in it. This one as well, like almost none. And you can see the paper towels, dry, and then soaking wet, and soaking wet. The conclusion that you come to from that is that there's a leak somewhere in the exhaust side. Like it's leaking into the exhaust, valves. It could be bent. It could be just the seal. It's not how it should be. So that could be the reason for the hiccup that I have right there. Some mild head work would fix that. I would just buy all new valve train and then kind of just get the heads decked, areas cleaned up, but don't know if I'm gonna do that. This is the other side. Other side looks much better. Still a little bit of leaking, looks like. Nothing. This intake side's a little bit wet, dry, pretty wet, and pretty wet. So I don't see a lot of water that really came out though. Not a lot of water came out. Of this one particularly, some water came out for sure, but this one not so much. So, I mean, this test isn't like the best test to do for bent valves, and you can do other ones. You can take compressed air and kind of spray it up there as long as it's a low amount to kind of check for bubbling. If you put too much air pressure in, obviously it's going to open up the valve, and you don't want to do that. But this is a pretty good test to figure out, if you have any bent valves or if you have any sealing issues with the valve area as a whole. So the next step again would be, if you found this like this, me personally, I'll say in a sec what I'm going to do. What you should do is replace the valves that are causing those issues. Like, you could tell which side is causing the issue, and then replace those valves and everything that goes along with it, springs, everything like that. So. Okay, so what is the plan then? There's obviously a leaking valve, it's bent, or maybe there's carbon buildup. Either way, some minor head work needs to be done at the very least, right? We still haven't figured out what the bubbling in the coolant reservoir was. I burped the system about 100 times. The head gasket looks great though. Maybe pressure testing the heads, maybe there's some leak there that I'm not aware of. But the hiccup issue could be caused by maybe a leaky exhaust valve. We don't know. And the reason I say we don't know is yet. So what the plan is I'm not one to throw in the towel. But with that said, this motor is going to go into trash bags with the heads and be put off to the side for a little bit. I will keep this as a spare and kind of build it up, diagnose it further. But for what the plan is going forward is to still get that W20C block, thick wall EJ207 block, brand new, assembled, pistons and everything together. I would still need heads though, right? These heads obviously will need some work at the very least. I'm just going to buy new heads. They're incredibly expensive as well for these T20 heads. These are the big port EJ207, the highly sought after heads that everyone goes after. You can still buy them new from the factory. They're not assembled. You need to buy valve train as well, so I need to buy valve train. It's going to get pricey, but I would rather do that. The plan was to have a spare motor anyway. This will be my build-up spare as I diagnose it and work through it further, as opposed to just keep on attacking it, putting this in for the fourth time and finding a minor issue here or there. With something like this, with the amount of time and money put into this build, even a minor issue, like I said, like a hiccup that I occasionally get at like 2,500 RPMs or 3,000 RPMs, bubbling in the coolant, especially if you're tracking the car, there's just no reason not to achieve perfection on this, right? So you may have seen, if you watch my Instagram, while I'm doing all this, I've been attacking the engine bay, cleaning up moving the battery to the back, cleaning up the wiring, just kind of making things more perfect. Because you always say, or at least I do, I don't know if everyone else is guilty of this, this will work for now and I'll go back and fix it later. And it's rare that you do. It's just rare that you do. So I'm noticing some things that I could have done a while ago, again, like moving the battery to the back, just organizing the wiring, cleaning things up, just making the engine bay look cleaner, make it easier for maintenance, and just all around to diagnose or find issues or just, work on the car. So doing that right now, this will probably end up being all said, probably like another $4,000 for all this stuff. The block is like $2,000. The heads are like $900 a piece, maybe $1,000 depending on who you go with. Then you got to ship them in, and then the valve train. But at the end of the day, you're looking at a brand new motor. This is all from the factory, brand new. And I won't be building it in the sense of like a forged internal block or anything like that. Because that W20C block can easily handle 400, which I'm probably going to dial it down if I'm being honest, but can easily handle 400 for a long, long time. EJ207s are known to do that. And there's no reason. I'm definitely not going with more power over that. I've said in the past, like, oh, I'm stopping this 100%. This is way too much power right now. 400 in a 26 or 2,700 pound car is crazy. And my wife just won't ride in the car anymore because she thinks it's a death trap. I'm already like at that point where I just don't want to put like the power is fine. I just want reliability and be able to take it to the track. So that's the plan there. I have to order that stuff. There's a bunch of different people you can order that stuff through. May post links in the bottom here, but I mean, Roger Clark Motorsports sells all this stuff. Flatirons Tuning does as well, but what they do is they buy it from Roger Clark Motorsports and then ship it to you. So you're paying like for a middleman, so you're going to pay extra if you do it through them. I love Flatirons Tuning, but they sometimes, they need to make money, and I understand that. And then there's other shops as well. There's based out of Australia. Either way, you're going to get shipped and hitting those tariffs and taxes. So that makes it a little bit more pricey there, but that's the plan going forward. I just don't see myself like digging into this deeper and deeper and deeper and I haven't reached that aha moment yet where I've been like, this is the reason for the issues. And because I haven't reached that and it's been so long, I'd rather just move on with a new block and diagnose this on the side as like a side project as opposed to the primary one for this car. So thanks for watching. I know this video probably drug on. I wanted to get a lot done here so people could see, my process, what I go through to kind of quickly diagnose stuff once the engine's out and kind of move forward from there. But once we get the block in, I want to, and I'll see if I can find one, which would be an awesome comparison, show these blocks side by side, the W20 block, the EJ207 version 8 block. It's version 8, but version 7, version 8, version 9, all are going to look the same. The short blocks. And then I want to find an EJ257, just an older block. It doesn't have to be in good shape, but I just want to compare like the cylinder walls, and so you can see like how these motors look side by side, and you'll understand why I believe the 207 is much stronger and reliable motor, but the W20C 207 is crazy. Once you see how thick those cylinder walls are, it's nuts. But we'll kind of go from there. Don't want to drag this on too much. Thanks for watching. So again, the plan is to put this off to the side, make all new EJ207 into the car, just everything new from there, and then use the accessories, obviously, like that I have around, like the intake manifold, obviously all the mods that I had, things of that sort, exhaust, all that on this the turbo, especially onto this new one. So thanks again.